There. So, WP's happy, although he doesn't know that his show is cancelled, so he might be sad in a minute. And Edgeworth has just unexpectedly popped up in the defendant's lobby to stare awkwardly at Phoenix, or demanding that he say something because I'm not good at small talk. Huh? What? Uh, um, that was too bad, Edgeworth. Don't waste any time gloating, do you? No, I really want to thank you. Vasquez would have gotten away if you hadn't stepped in. Pleased to meet you. I'm Powers. Ah, Edgeworth. I'm a big fan of your work, Mr. Powers. uh, Edgeworth is super awkward right now, because he's kind of unhappy and kind of not unhappy, and he's just told the star of a show intended for 10-year-olds that he's a big fan of his work, so... I must say, I hadn't expected to meet you again after all these years. Meet again? However. Oh! Tons of facts. In retrospect, it would have been better had we not. Thanks to you, I am saddled with unnecessary feelings. This is the part where all of the Let's Players immediately realize that these guys are, yeah, they got something. Something has happened, and no one has been told about this yet. Unnecessary feelings? Yes. Unease and uncertainty. Aren't those kind of necessary? They only serve to get in my way. Yeah, basically that is the theme of Edgeworth for a little while yet. I'm having feelings and I don't like this. You listen to me, Phoenix Wright. Don't ever show your face in front of me again. That's what I came here to tell you. Yeah, he seems like not as mad as he could be about that, honestly. He didn't storm in yelling, so... Mr. Wright, was that guy your friend? What? Friends? As if. They're rivals. Rivals! Right, Nick? For now we are, I guess. Huh? Why do I get the feeling I'm missing something? Come on, Nick, tell me. What's the deal with you and Edgeworth? And so the curtain closed on another trial. I caused quite a stir by revealing that accident from 5 years ago. It was the talk of the town. Thankfully, Global Studios rethought its programming change. They went back to making kids shows again. Nick! This is it! The new show starts today! You're gonna watch it with me, right? I'll admit I was kinda surprised. I didn't think they'd seriously go through with it. You have to buy trading cards too, okay? We have to trade with Cody and that assistant. Fine, fine, I'll do it. Isn't it great that WP gets to play the lead again? Okay, yes. It is the big galoot in the Pink Princess costume. That's actually pretty common for these kinds of shows. Tokusatsu, the genre is called tokusatsu. Like stuff like the Power Rangers, and some of them wound up on American TV. The Power Rangers is just the tip of the iceberg. These things are legion in Japan. And the thing about tokusatsu is that the hero in costume and the hero out of costume are usually two completely different actors. Very rarely do the tokusatsu actors do their own stunts. So in the Power Rangers, when you see like the Pink Ranger is supposed to be a girl, and I think maybe the yellow one was female in the American revision too, the actual stunt actors in those costumes are all guys. So it is not a terrible surprise that WP is in the Pink Princess costume. It's probably some other much more delicate and attractive female playing the Pink Princess out of the tokusatsu suit. But yeah, it's not surprising that WP got the role again. He's an accomplished actor in these kind of like Sentai suit series. I wonder if the show is real face this time. No. I don't know. I don't think the world is ready for the real willpowers. Yeah, odds are that he was not the face of the Steel Samurai in the Steel Samurai either, assuming that the samurai was ever out of costume. Yeah, that's just kind of how things work in tokusatsu. So, yay! Save my progress up to this point! Turnabout Samurai is over. We won. Edgeworth helped. He is at least kind of uncomfortable with this state of affairs and really desperately doesn't want it to happen again. Honestly, no such luck. Edgeworth is involved in the next case too, very intimately involved in the next case, and therefore so is Phoenix, who absolutely insists upon being the defense in that particular mystery. Uh, yeah. That whole thing with don't show your face in front of me again, not gonna happen. You do find out what all the backstory is, you find out why they seem to know each other, why they just kind of shout at each other in court, completely insensible of the judge, the defendant, the audience, and everybody else watching. Yeah, they have history. It's a lot of history. Edgeworth doesn't really like that history either, but yeah. You also find out why Edgeworth, if you notice his voice clips in court sound a little bit continental. He sounds kind of transatlantic, and that's because you find out shortly that he did not spend a lot of his childhood in the US. He actually spent a lot of it in Europe. Not so in the Japanese release, where I think he moved to America for most of his adolescence. And of course, in Japanese, his voice clip doesn't have any accent because if Japanese people speak English, it's almost always American English. Because of, you know, occupation by American forces post-war, most of the English teachers in Japan are still American. But yeah, his voice clip in the English language version sounds a little bit transatlantic, and that is actually for a reason. It's not just because he's stuffy and bookish, although he's also stuffy and bookish. So yeah, that's where we left it. Will Powers has been declared innocent, and in fact he does pop up again in the series. He's a recurring character, which, you know, he's a sweet guy. He gets Phoenix and Maya into some interesting stuff. You know, because, you know, they know someone in the entertainment business now. Um, justifying why okay, justifying why he's stuffy and bookish, you find out much, much later in one of the spin-off games to the series. You get a little bit of insight into Edgeworth as a small child, and apparently he was just an unusually serious little 8-year-old once upon a time. He was always like that. The whole thing where he resents having feelings is a little bit more recent and has more to do with him winding up in Europe, but no, he was just always kind of like that. The lack of forensics is remedied a little bit later in the series. There is an investigator who is better at investigating than Gumshoe and actually has some forensic technology. Uh, he was a mini adult. You see a little bit later, little Edgeworth wore a bow tie to school on purpose. Phoenix and Larry are also depicted as small school children, and they are in like cartoon logo t-shirts. So yeah, Edgeworth was always like he was not always quite this resentful of all emotions constantly, but yeah, no, he was bookish and stuffy. As I've mentioned before, his dialogue in Japanese, Mitsurugi, is his voc. There's two different axes that Japanese can vary on. Your vocabulary can go from rough to polite, and your like grammar and verb conjugations can go from informal to formal. His grammar tends to be very informal. He shows very little deference to anyone, including the judge in court. Like you'd never do that in court in real life, but Mitsurugi does it here because it's part of his character. But his vocabulary is all polite to the point where a lot of it is stuff that you see more in written work than you do in spoken conversation. It's a really interesting combination grammar-wise, but yeah, basically, he sounds like a book who is not impressed by you, for the most part. And nobody points this out. Apparently, Edgeworth has just kind of always sounded like that. when you find out more about him as a kid, he did that as a small child. Uh, very much a tiny professor who was clearly like reading beyond his grade level. Um, can't say he was ever better at dealing with his feelings, but he was at least slightly more sanguine about having them in childhood. And so yeah, Phoenix is not particularly surprised by any of the shenanigans in court. He's actually a little bit less surprised ultimately by Edgeworth helping him than he was by Edgeworth being, as the newspapers dubbed him, the demon prosecutor. He, you know, following Edgeworth's career in the newspaper was a little bit of a surprise to him because that is a bit of a contradiction given what he knows of Edgeworth from their backstory. So, yeah, that is the end of Turnabout Samurai. Maya gets to have her Pink Princess show to watch, and she is going to make Phoenix buy trading cards. You actually see, again, later in the series, there's a time skip between the third and the fourth games where a significant number of years has passed, but adult Maya apparently is still a big fan of the Steel Samurai. She's in her mid-20s, but she still sends Phoenix, like, DVDs of the show. So, yeah. And, Edgeworth has professed to being a big fan of Will Powers' work, so either he's a very bad liar or he has interesting taste in television. We'll find out later on. There'll be several games later. No, actually, you get to see his office in the bonus game to this case. This game was originally, or the bonus case to this game. This game was originally released for Game Boy Advance in Japan, and the ones we got in the US were the DS re-releases of it. So when they went back to redo this first game, they added a fifth case onto the original four. It's like the cases 1 through 4 are the actual arc in the game, and the fifth case is kind of an epilogue. It was added later, after the other two games had been released for GBA. So some details in those later games that will appear to be a callback to Case 5 in this game are actually Case 5 as like establishing them as a prequel to the other two games before their DS re-releases. Um, so yeah, that's Phoenix and Edgeworth in court. And Edgeworth is he's uncomfortable right now because he's kind of about to be forced to change it. You find out more about how he got to be the way he is, you find out more about what happened between he and Phoenix in the past, why they seem to know each other, and Phoenix hasn't bothered to tell anybody else about this. Apparently he didn't think it was relevant to fill Maya in before this case. He will eventually fill Maya in after this case because somebody will demand to know. Also, Larry will spill the beans. Larry, his idiot childhood friend, knows all about this. So yeah, next time, when hopefully the internet and Twitch behave better, we will come back and start case 1-4, Turnabout Goodbyes. You find out a lot about Phoenix and Edgeworth's past. Um, you get to meet a lot of new people and old people pop back up in unexpected contexts. I will tell you that in case 1-2, when you go to Grossberg's office and you can pick up the picture of Red White to show April in detention to get her to cough up what actually happened, the second photo, um, the second photo on Grossberg's desk, the photo of a lady with short hair, is actually relevant to some of this later case. Um, if you're out of town next Saturday, I would not worry about it. I will still stream, but all of this stuff goes up on a playlist. Actually, um, all of this stuff will go up on a playlist. Yeah, the VOD will be up. It'll also go up on a YouTube playlist, and if you follow Instagram, it posts notice when new blog posts go up on Rato Moon, the landing page for this Twitch channel. And those all contain a link to the YouTube playlist, and that will basically, once this case is over, now that Turnabout Samurai is over, I'll post the case notes for this one that has details about the names and some of the Japanese notes in it. As mentioned, the end of this case, with Edgeworth complaining about unnecessary feelings, is also where the Japanese Let's Players go squeak. A lot of the English language localization falls prey to the assumption that anybody who has feelings and refuses to specify what kind they are means that the feelings are romantic in nature. It's not quite as clear-cut in the Japanese. He does say pretty much the same thing about unnecessary feelings, the word kimochi meaning emotions in general. Um, in Japanese, it's less the implication that the unspecified feelings might be romantic or something in nature, but more just that Edgeworth hopping to having feelings in general. Speaking about strong feelings is not really something you do in Japanese culture, so Edgeworth voicing it here, especially as awkwardly as he does, is kind of a thing. It's unexpected and out of character for him, and it's just as confusing for Mayoi in Japanese as it is for Maya in English. So that's the stream. I will get this all wrapped up. I will put this up on the VOD. I will process and put this up on YouTube. I might edit out some of the longer pauses where Twitch just decided I wasn't allowed to do anything online. And yeah, that'll be up for viewing. My case notes will go up probably, I think I post them Friday morning before I stream on Saturday. And I will see everybody, or hopefully at least some people, next Saturday for case 1-4 Turnabout Goodbyes, in which the backstory comes to light. Thank everybody so much for coming, watching. I hope you like my new Halloween Spooky Falling Stars intro. I think I will have a special stream late on Halloween night after I get back from class. I have another spookier game that I was thinking of trying out, so stay tuned for news on that. And I will see everybody later. Have a good weekend. Bye.